Hi! Hey kittens, welcome back to another video. Today's video is going to be a little different from my usual content, if I even have like a usual content. This one is going to be a bit of a deeper video. I'm going to be talking about my journey as a Korean American, what that was like, my struggles, all the ups, all the downs, and everything in between. Also, ignore this poster. This is from high school when I won Homecoming Queen. This is how they announced it. But I am the Queen of Hearts, so don't you ever forget. I got this list of questions from Jen Ims, growing up Korean American. Check her out. She's someone that I used to watch religiously growing up. Definitely someone that I looked up to when I was younger. I think especially as Asian kids, we definitely did not have the representation that I feel like kids have now. Korean entertainment and Korean music is getting so popular is insane to me. Like, finally, we have a lot to talk about, so let's get into it. 시작! The first question is, what ethnicity are you? I'm Korean. If that wasn't obvious enough, if I haven't said it enough, I am Korean American. My parents immigrated from Korea to New York, and when they decided to have a family and settle down, they moved to New Jersey where they had me and then my sister a few years later. Which generation are you? I am first generation, which means my parents both were born in Korea and I was born in the States. So we are first generation Korean American. When was your first experience feeling different because you're a minority and because of your ethnicity? I'm a pretty spicy, feisty person, and growing up, nothing was different. I was literally just as spicy, just as feisty. Honestly, a disaster. But I remember I did not know how to speak English because Korean was my first language. In kindergarten, I think, I would get in trouble a lot. And I mean a lot. Like, I would get sent to the principal's office all the time. My parents had to come pick me up early. But it was because I did not know how to speak English, so the other kids didn't know how to interact with me. They didn't know how to communicate with me. I felt a lot of frustration and I was really angry because we're kids. We don't have patience. We don't know any better. The kids would bully me or be really rude to me, and I would just have no other option than to fight back, right? So I would always get in trouble because I wasn't able to properly communicate or express how I was feeling. I think that was like one of the first experiences. And I remember there's times in elementary school where people would be calling me racial slurs like ching chong, or asking me what I'm eating, why does that smell? It's very typical things that first generation children kind of hear on a day-to-day basis, especially because I moved around so often when I was younger too. I had to kind of constantly explain to them why I ate certain things, or why I dressed a certain way, or why I looked this way. I was in a constant state of having to explain and analyze my own ethnicity time and time again. It definitely had a huge effect on me with the people I hung out with the way that ultimately led to me trying to dissociate from my ethnicity as much as I can. It took a big toll on me. This is a doozy. Buckle up. Were you always proud of your heritage, or was there a time you rejected it? Oh boy! I rejected my ethnicity for a majority of my life. Like, yeah, a majority of my life. Once I started forming a brain, forming opinions, perceiving things, I realized that the way I was being perceived was in a pretty negative connotation. Like I mentioned, there was a lot of microaggressive comments in my day-to-day basis. Ultimately, because I went to a predominantly white school, all I wanted to do was fit in. I didn't want the stereotype of being nerdy.
Mind you, I look like this. I was not beating the nerdy allegations.
Ridiculed for the things I like, because growing up, I loved Pokemon, I loved watching anime, I loved all of that. And then as I was getting older, because I wanted to fit in so badly, I started rejecting the things I liked to lie to myself essentially and pretend like I liked certain things that I didn't, just so I could fit in. I also remember this one time, and this is a very common story that you hear with first generation students, is that my mom made me lunch and she made me my favorite. She made me Korean barbecue, and she would pack it with some rice, kimchi, my absolute favorite.
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of ate that note up.
Even in high school, people would always make fun of me for bringing that type of lunch. So I remember yelling at my mom, telling her like, why would you do something like this to me? Even though it's not her fault. All she wanted to do is feed me. And my ungrateful ass in high school was like, Mom, I need you to make me a turkey sandwich. That is what I want. Was it actually what I wanted? Hell no, I don't even like turkey. I don't like cold deli meat. Also, have you looked at like a turkey sandwich? In my head, that's what made me fit in. I replaced delicious Korean barbecue and switched it over to some bland ass turkey sandwich. Are you kidding me? I remember wanting to fit in so badly that I loved compliments like, "You're really pretty for an Asian." Like, those are the type of compliments that I was yearning for, because I was like, yeah, I'm trying to separate from all the other Asians. I want to be the token Asian that all the white people want to hang out with. I want to be the one that looks cool. And it's so gross to think about that now, because if someone said that to me, that is fetishization to a T, you know, that's to the max. But that's what it did to your mental. This honestly continued until probably my freshman year of college. This is the first time where I got to really explore my identity. I surrounded myself with really supportive, also very diverse friends that showed me what it's like to be proud of their ethnicity and their heritage and their culture. And I loved that. I think in college too, it really challenged myself to look inward and reflect and think about, why do I think the way that I think? Hearing other people's stories and seeing the similarities and the parallel of my story and theirs just made me realize, like, oh my God, okay, I am not alone in this situation. It's not just me. Other people deal with this and they bounce back. They bounce back and they love who they are now. They love their culture. They fully embrace it. So I want to be that way. Has the way you grew up affect the way you are now in a negative light? Yes, yes, yes. I actually recently talked about this with a bunch of my friends when we were talking about New Year's resolution. But something that I'm realizing now as an adult is I have a really hard time starting things. It might be a fear of failure. I think it's a little bit of everything. And I think where it stems from is when I was younger, I had to handle a lot of my parents' things that I didn't understand. Taxes, doctors, appointments, banking, a lot of things that an 8-year-old would not understand. I had to. If I didn't do it well on the first go, I would get in trouble. As an 8-year-old. Ultimately, that was just a really big burden to have when you were younger. I had to grow up really quickly because of that. And I had to help out my parents at such a young age. But because of that, I think now it's translated to, if I'm not good at something right away, I'm a failure. I've let everyone else down. So instead of trying and just failing and either getting better or realizing that's not for me, I just don't do it. A perfect example of this is pole dancing. I've been wanting to pole dance for 3 years prior to me actually getting up, going to a class and starting it. I always knew I would like it. I always knew it was something that I wanted to do, but it took me 3 years, which is why one of my big New Year's resolution is trying something new. Even if I'm gonna be by myself doing it, I still want to just do it just to try it out. Which is actually a future video idea that I have, where I try something new every day for 2 weeks. So if you have any suggestions, and I mean anywhere from like trying new foods in a new restaurant to horseback riding, literally whatever idea you have that you want me to try out, leave in the comments down below. Suki's gonna join us. Can you speak your language? Yes, I can. I did not go to years worth of Korean school and missing out on my Saturdays for nothing. Even though I must admit, going to Korean school honestly did nothing for me. I don't think I learned that much. I do learn from watching a lot of Korean content, consuming Korean media, talking to my parents obviously is a big one. And then every time I go to Korea, I pick it up really quickly again. But I will say I'm definitely not where I want to be, and I do need to practice, but it's just hard. I just need someone to like practice with. Maybe I'll just run away and live in Korea again for a few months. My Korean's not bad, honestly. If I go to Korea, I'll survive, I'll make do. I just can't have like deep conversations in Korean. I think that's really hard. I really want to ask my grandma about her experience growing up, because my grandma, when she was younger, she was actually born in North Korea. My dad's lineage grew up in North Korea. My dad and his siblings are first generation South Korean. So my grandma, when she was younger, fled the country with her family and crossed the border on foot. Insane. And she was so young. Like, here I am complaining about not understanding banks and lawyers and making my own appointments. And my grandmother literally escaped her home country when she was younger during a war, during the biggest war of Korea, to flee, cross the border to then have a better life. And here I am sobbing. about banks. But I am really curious about her experience. It's something that I've always wondered, but I am going to Korea in March, so maybe I'll ask her. But how do I go about that? I don't know, that's weird. Asian families and talking and communication is so bizarre. Aha! Perfect segue into the next question. How has being Asian American affected your relationship with your parents? We did not talk about feelings. We did not talk about what was happening, especially because I grew up as the eldest. I was very, very independent from the very beginning. So I did not feel like I needed to rely on my parents other than financially. I didn't need them to support me emotionally, mentally, because they were never that source for me. I always had my friends, which is why I put my friends on such a pedestal. Asian American really affected me and my parents because of the lack of communication. There was obviously still a language barrier even though I spoke Korean. Again, I do not have the vocabulary to go as deep or to explain myself or to understand the way that I wish I could. I think also being Asian American, as I said before, affected me personally because I resented my parents so much for making me do so many things for them. And listen, back then when I was younger, I was super ungrateful. Now I'm definitely way more grateful about all the sacrifices and everything they have done to move to a new country, speak a language that they are not familiar with, surround themselves with people that don't look like them, that don't speak the same language as them. As Young Blue, isn't Young Blue a rapper?
He is. And I was at his table in Miami once.
That's funny. As a younger version of myself, I did not understand. I was so selfish with myself growing up, obviously, because I am young, that I did not try to understand where my parents were coming from. And I think ultimately I did not understand that at the same time I'm growing up, at the same time I was growing up, my parents were growing up too, you know? They couldn't help it. They didn't understand. All they wanted was for me and my sister to have a better life. But in exchange of that, that meant we would face a lot of troubles because we didn't grow up the same way, especially because I was the eldest. My sister always had someone to give her advice when need be. She relied on me a lot, a little bit more than our parents growing up. One time she hit a parked car in the high school parking lot, and instead of calling my parents, she called me to ask me what she should do. But I didn't have that luxury, right? I didn't have anyone to ask simple questions about life. So growing up was really difficult, and it definitely put a huge strain in our relationship. I was a piece of shit growing up. I won't lie to you, I was a piece of shit. I was so rebellious, even though on paper I was a really good daughter because I did all these extracurriculars. I got really good grades. I was easy to get along with. But at home, I was a menace because I had so much resentment towards my parents for something that was out of their control. But you know, I will also say, growing up with Asian parents is difficult on its own. So I'm gonna give myself a little bit of slack. It was a two-way street, babes. I think growing up made me very grateful for the parents that I have, where I didn't necessarily feel like that all the time. My sister and I still help my parents out in a lot of different ways, especially with communicating, especially with my mom's restaurant, being a translator. It's those things where I would not trade for the world to be able to live the life that I do. Oh my God. And with that being said, I'm very grateful for each and every one of you for making my parents' dreams come true. For making my dreams come true. I'm also really congested. Ew. The sniffling is like twice as bad. Text your parents or text your chosen family. Tell them you love them. Apologize for being a little shit sometimes. They can't help it. You can't help it. We're all just navigating life together. Live, laugh, love.
All right, apologies. So my camera died, so I'm actually on my phone now. If you realize there's this little shift in the quality. How do I feel about my heritage now? Are you proud of your identity? Yes! Thank God. Oh my God. I don't think I truly loved myself and was fully confident in who I am until I started resonating with my identity. And once I started becoming proud of who I am, my culture, my identity, my flyaways, I have become Korea's #1 ambassador. And I'm so grateful to be in a position where I can inspire other Korean Americans, other Koreans, other people, other first gens, other eldest daughters to be confident in who you are, to be proud of who you are, to be proud of your heritage, to be proud of your culture, and ultimately to understand that that is not taking away from you at all. It is adding to you. It is who you are. You should be proud of your cultural background. You should be proud of the food, the holidays, your family, your traditions. It's something that connects you to other people. It's one of those like, you know. In Korean, we call it nunchi. It took me so long for me to realize that I was neglecting this part of my life and that I was actually filled with self-hatred and identity crises and issues because I wasn't accepting who I was and because I wanted to become someone so badly when I could never be that person. I could never be the person that just fits in. I'm not like that. And the fact that now I'm in a situation where I could inspire other people to step out of the box, to show off your individuality, to be proud of who you are, to be bold, to be unapologetically yourself, to be loud, to be confident, to truly love yourself, I can't ask for anything better. And that's why at the end of the day, no matter what some nameless, faceless, dumbass bitch on Twitter has to say about me, I don't give a because I went most of my life resenting myself, resenting my identity, that once I figured out who the I was and so proud of who I am and look good doing it, the end. Like Mimi said, argue with your mom, argue with your dad because you're not arguing with me.
Oh, what do we gotta say? Because I can keep going. Your niece, your nephew.
Period. I have surrounded myself with such great people in my life. I do not give a about what some rando has to say because they watched one summer of my life. One summer where I was put in a social experiment and I had to do all these crazy things that you would not see on a day-to-day basis. Stay mad because you're gonna see this Asian ass face on your TL all the time. Anyway, I went on a tangent. What is my favorite thing about being Asian American and my heritage? Oh my God, I have so much that I'm proud of. The culture, the talent, the media, the food. Oh my God, the food. I love Korean food. I love Asian food in general. I think genuinely, hands down, we have the best food. It's tens across the board. You have Vietnamese food, you have Thai food, Korean, Japanese, Indian, Indonesian. Have y'all had Burmese food? Momos from Nepal? Why did I say it like that? Momos from Nepal. Chinese food. Hello? Every aspect of Asian food is amazing. And I also love that Asian Americans share this kind of story, that we are connected through a shared experience, even if I live in SoCal and I grew up this, and this way, and someone else might grow up in Minnesota and they grew up this, and this way. We have such a strong bond as an Asian community that I would not replace for the world. I loved my time in New York because it was the first time I was surrounded by an Asian community. I was surrounded by Asian people who shared similar stories with me. They shared the same food, art, culture. It all intersected. That's why I loved my experience in New York because I finally found my community. I finally felt like I belonged. I didn't even honestly have like really close Korean friends until my senior year of college. Are you kidding me? One time I got dinner with one of my Korean friends, Brian. Shout out Brian. We sat down, we got some Korean food, and we just talked about all the TV shows and movies we watched growing up. And I was having a ball because I've never had that kind of connection with anyone outside of my sister. It is so important to surround yourself with people who understand your culture, who understands what you've been through. And I don't necessarily always mean that in like a similar ethnicity type of way, but just surrounding yourself with people who understand you on a deeper level that makes you who you are, whether it's your ethnicity or your sexual orientation or whatever the situation might be. It is so important to find your group of people who really do understand you one way or another. Thank you so much for listening to my story and listening to me rant and talk about all the good, the bads, watching me cry again. I want to do more sit down talks like this. I have a lot of ideas, so I hope that you continuously choose to support me. Thank you so much. Again, I really want to thank each and every one of you for allowing me this platform where I could talk freely about my experience, and hopefully I inspire some of you to really come out of your shell, to be proud of your culture, your heritage, to be proud of who you are, to become confident in yourself. And that's ultimately the message that I want to share with everything that I do. Thank you so much for allowing me this platform. Thank you so much for making my dreams come true. And thank you so much for proving to my parents that all of their years and decades of hard work, struggles for my sister and I to live a good life has really paid off. Oh God. I'm such an ugly crier. It's really wholesome to see how much my parents support me and how proud they are of me. It's something that I'm so grateful for. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you continue to support me. And I'll see you in the next one, bitch. Bye.